Hey everybody, it's Charles from HumbleMechanic.com. Today we're talking engine oil leaks, moving to a dealership, a send-off to a lost friend, and more. This is episode 174 of the Humble Mechanic Podcast. All right, before we get into the show, last week the Volkswagen community lost someone that I was very happy to have the pleasure of meeting on multiple occasions. Jeff Bynum of the Bynum Builds team passed away last week. It's very sad for the community, sad for me, sad for a lot of people that I'm really close to as well. I had the absolute pleasure of meeting Jeff and hanging out and talking cars and drinking beers and breaking bread. And it was a rough day when I found out, and it's sad. The Bynums not only built amazing older Volkswagens. They were some of the best stand-up people that you could ever come across. Incredibly welcoming, talk to anybody, love to share stories, laugh, hang out, and it really came to us as a shock that we lost Jeff. So to the Bynums, thoughts, prayers, well wishes, good vibes, whatever you guys are into, do me a favor and send it their way. I think it would really mean a lot to them. They were, again, such an iconic part of the VW community. To anyone that knew him or knew their work, I think it would really mean a lot if you guys could throw a comment down in the comment section and just, let them know. Maybe next time you start your car up, whether it's a Toyota or a Nissan or a hot-rodded Volkswagen, give it a couple extra revs for Jeff. I'm sure he would love that. So, moving on, if you want to get a question on a show like this, be sure to email me, charles@humblemechanic.com. Put question for Charles in the subject. Be sure to ask your question right at the top. Mash that enter button a few times, then give me the details down below. As always, that really does help me answer your question. Also, if you don't see your question on a show like this, be sure to check out the Quick Videos playlist on YouTube where I answer one question at a time. All right, let's talk about the sponsor of the day, which is CRP Automotive. CRP deals in a ton of OE maintenance and repair parts, timing belt kits, suspension components, and even fluids. In fact, they make the factory DSG fluid for Volkswagen and Audi. So check them out at crpautomotive.com. All right, with all that wrapped up, let's get into the questions. First one comes from Joe. I had a question regarding making the move from an independent shop to the dealership. Specifically, your point of view on making the transition successfully and what I should expect and not expect, and what I can do to prepare myself for the new environment. I've worked in the same Indy shop for 10 years and through my apprenticeship, and I've decided to make the move. Any tips would be appreciated. Joe, great question. So techs are making moves all the time, right? Moving brands, going from dealer to independent, independent to dealer. And I think the big thing that you're in for is you're going to be going from an independent, now I don't know where, so it could be like a chain independent or it could be like a mom and pop shop. You're going from somewhere that may not be very structured and corporate to somewhere that's going to be very structured, very corporate, no matter what brand you work for. So I can only really speak specifically about VW. You are going to have mounds more paperwork that you're going to need to do. Documentation is king at the dealership. The good thing is that's a great way for you to earn money, right? Because we have warranty work now. The bad thing is there's a lot of tedious, monotonous, annoying things that you're going to have to do in order to basically fit the bill of what the dealership's looking for. So prepare yourself to have gobs and gobs and gobs of paperwork. That's kind of like the biggest negative. There's probably the corporate structure as well, highly dependent on where you work though. There are some really good things. All the special tools for the brand, all the support for the brand, all the training and protocols and stuff, all that's available to you. So you have this vast wealth of knowledge on the brand that you're going to have at your disposal. For us, special tool cabinet full of tools, like $300-something thousand worth of tools, factory scan tools, factory test plans built into that, regional support, tech line support, so you have all that. And if it's a good dealership that's well run, well organized, you should be able to step in pretty easily and join the club, so to say. Now, something you may find also that's not good or bad, but is different, is the way they do certain jobs. In the aftermarket, a lot of times you have to improvise and find ways around using special tools specifically. And at the dealership, they're probably going to want you to use the special tools and do it, you know, the quote by the book way. The good thing for you is you know how to do both, so you can kind of find that happy medium. But be prepared for plenty more paperwork, but be prepared for a lot more support when you have broken cars. And remember that, you know, at the independent, you can always send it to the dealer. At the dealer, you can't send it anywhere else. You're the last line of defense. So keep that in mind as well. But Joe, you can have a great opportunity moving from a small indie shop to a dealership. It can be a great move. So dude, good luck to you. If anybody else has had that kind of experience, share your thoughts with Joe down in the comment section. Let's try and help him out and get a good fresh start at a dealership. All right, next one's kind of fun. This one comes from Greg. I really appreciate all your videos. The question is there a replacement engine for the Tiguan instead of the 2.0 turbo? Can another engine be put in place? Please advise. I do not like the current motor and its problems. Thanks again, Greg. Greg, the world is your oyster. It all depends on, well, how much you can do yourself or how much money you have. You can do anything, right? You can do any swap that you want. Remember that the Tiguan is kind of like a Passat Golf, right? So any engine that comes in those platforms, we can install. Outside the US market, the Tiguan came in a diesel, so we can look at doing that. Personally, if I were gonna do a swap on a Tiguan, I would probably go with the 3.6 liter VR6. There's somebody that has done that, and I forget who the tuning company was that did it. I wanna say they built a 6-speed, 3.6 liter 4-motion Tiguan, which if I were doing it, that would be the swap that I would wanna do. So look at the 3.6, look at some Audi engines. You know, this is a transverse mount engine, so basically any car, any Volkswagen that has a transverse mount engine, you should be able to take that engine and plop it in your Tiguan. There's plenty of room. You may need custom bracketry, you may need different axle lengths or shifter pieces. There's going to maybe be stuff that you need custom, hoses, extending harnesses, shortening harnesses, that kind of thing. All the normal engine swap stuff. But you can basically take any transverse mount Volkswagen Audi engine and plop it in there. So I don't blame you on hating the 2.0. There's a lot of things that are not awesome about it. There's a lot of things that are pretty good about it, but if it were me, man, 3.6 liter all the way, I think it makes a great swap. I think the Tiguan should have come with that, at least as an option, especially with a 6-speed, because man, that would be awesome. That would change the way I look at the Tiguan altogether. You know, the 2-liter automatic is a bit anemic. It's not bad. It's still better than most other SUVs in that class, but a 3.6 with a 6-speed manual in 4-motion, that's what I'm talking about. That's probably an engine package that rest of world got that we in the US never got because it's too, I don't know, exciting or something like that. I would be thinking 3.6 liter. That's probably going to be the easiest to drop in. It's still not going to be easy. There may still be a lot of things that you have to do in order to make it fit. As always, I recommend trying to find a donor car. So maybe trying to find a Passat or maybe an A3. An Audi A3 may actually be better because I think VR6 A3 is probably a bit more plentiful, especially if you want to go with manual transmission. But that's what I would be looking at, man. Again, the only limitation you have is how much money you're willing to spend on doing this swap, or how much work you can do yourself, or a mixture of both, really, because it's probably not going to be cheap either way. So, all right, next one comes from Joe and Maureen. I have a 2004 B5.5 GLX Passat. We've had it since '04. During the heating season, the car blows hot all of the time, even with the Climatronic set at 64. We even keep the vents closed in there, very warm to the touch. During AC season, the system works great, keeping the interior cool on hot days. Dealer noted fault codes on blend doors as well as other motors and door actuators. They reset the system, cleared the codes, and were able to control the flaps and such in an evaluation test. Basically what that means is they performed a basic setting on the AC Climatronic system. They said, I need a new heater core. I told them not to replace the heater core, as everything I've read from the heater core replacement solves a no heat issue, not a too much heat situation. Good call. That doesn't sound right to me at all. I'm not sure what my next step should be. Please advise or direct me a potential solution you have previously identified for this problem. So, great question, an odd question because it's not one that I've ran into much or recently. You're 100% right about the no heat thing. Clogged heater core is generally going to cause a no heat or a low heat output problem, not a too much heat output problem. The key to this issue is that you have a climatronic system, which means that all those doors and flaps and crap are controlled by little motors instead of cables on doors. That's actually not a bad thing because that gives us diagnostic capability with the scan tool. What the dealership did is they went in and they performed basic settings, which means all the motors will move to their outermost points and it'll check to see if it's reaching the endpoints of the doors. I've had to replace those motors in multiple cars multiple times. It's been a while, but I've had to do all of them a handful of times. In fact, I made a small special little bit in order to do that, because some of them are pretty tight. Technically, you're supposed to pull the dash cover off, but that's crazy. You can get to them without doing it. The other thing you want to look at is the temperature that the car thinks the heater box is. There's a temperature sensor in that heater box, and if I remember right, it's on the passenger side all the way up and towards the front of the car, but it would actually be like the back of the heater box as you're looking at the front of the dash. And I've seen that sensor fail a lot and cause similar problems where it only works hot, and then when the temperature's normal, it's fine, or heat squirrely or whatever. So it's interesting though that it works perfect with air conditioning and not perfect with heat. But to me, that really sounds like the temperature that it thinks it is inside the heater box is not correct. So I would start there. You probably have those faults again. So if you have VAGCOM, you can go in and check that. There's a really good possibility that you need new motors and that temperature sensor is bad. This may have been happening over 2 or 3, 4 years, and it's just now at the point where it's bad and you're noticing it consistently instead of maybe just intermittent issues, or instead of getting to 120, maybe it was only getting to 119, or maybe it was getting to 125 and it shouldn't have been. So I would look at that, but don't be surprised if it needs all of those parts. But I don't think you need a heater or core either. I think that was a good choice on telling them to hold off. So great question. Hey, the good thing is it's easier to turn the heat down as far as directing airflow than to deal with not having heat. My GTI right over here has no heat because the blend door actually doesn't have the cover on it, so it's just air flowing right through it. So it doesn't have really any climate control. So good luck, and hope that kind of points you in the right direction and gives you some comfort that they weren't totally wrong. All right, got time for one more. This one's from Marcin. Hey, first of all, I would like to say thanks for your awesome videos you make. I got a quick question for you. What could cause an oil leak underneath the intake manifold? I can't really see it, but I know it's coming from the right side, some kind of plastic part. If you have any ideas, please let me know. Thank you. The car's a 13cc. So there's a couple of things underneath the intake manifold that can cause oil leaks. The biggest one is going to be the primary oil separator. So at the bottom of the CCTA engines, there's a plastic box and it can leak oil. It's got a rubber gasket on it. It can leak. I have seen exactly this many leak. So what's more likely happening is you're actually getting oil from either the timing cover, upper or lower, or the cam girdle at the top, leaking past the intake manifold all the way down to the bottom. May even be something like the vacuum pump leaking onto the trans and leaking down, but I doubt it's that little piece. Now it could totally be, but I just never seen one of all the CCTAs that I've seen pouring oil. I've never seen one of those leak. In fact, I've had one off on an engine sitting on a stand over there that I use for training purposes. So start at the top and work your way down. Look at any seam of the engine. Head gasket is even probably more likely than that piece. But the most common places that that engine will leak oil from is going to be the timing chain covers, upper and lower, the cam bridge at the top, the vacuum pump. Those are the most common. So start with checking those. Go to the hardware store or go to AutoZone or somewhere and get some oil dye. Put that in there. And then if you have a UV light, it's really easy. Or take it in and have someone inspect it with a UV light and see where that oil is coming from. You can probably trace it down. But remember, oil leaks down, not up. So odds are it's probably something above the intake manifold, which again, I've seen a ton of time. It's actually one of the things that's the leading cause of the water pumps leaking is oil leaking down onto it, making the plastic weak and brittle, and then causing a coolant leak, which oil leaks causing coolant leaks is actually a pretty common thing. Seen it a ton of times. So start there. Again, look at the top, work your way down. I doubt it's that primary oil separator. It could be, but it's just not something I've seen a whole lot of. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you have any questions or comments, you know what to do. Hey, if you like this video, throw it a thumbs up on YouTube. I always appreciate that. You can also subscribe on YouTube or on the blog at humblemechanic.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course on Snapchat. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. You know, today's show is a little hard for me to get through. I didn't know Jeff as well as everybody did, but I felt like I knew him pretty well, enough to know the kind of person that he was. Beyond the cars and beyond the cool stuff that he and his father built, he was just a good family dude. It's so cool to see a father and son be able to create such amazing Volkswagens or anything really, and I have a lot of admiration for that, a lot of respect for that. He was well respected by so many of us. You know, we can really only hope that when we're gone, we have that kind of legacy. So, Bynums, everybody watching, shout out to you, Jeff. You're already missed, brother.